G'day, Professor Joseph Drew. As many of you know, I was a high school maths teacher for many years. I've been a professor for decades. And one of the things I've noticed over the years are students who clearly know what's going on, can do the work. You can tell this from the classroom discussions, from their homework. And then they go into an exam and absolutely bomb it. And over the years, I've identified three big mistakes that these people are making that explains their disappointing results. In this video, I'll tell you what they are. And I should preface this with a couple points. A, I was a very good student myself. In university, I was a university medalist, GPA of 7 out of 7 every time. And these are the techniques and the things I focused on myself, so I know they work. B, exam preparation technique isn't being taught anymore in our schools. My youngest boy is currently doing his big senior exams, and he didn't know these things. And it was such a surprise to me that teachers aren't teaching this. 20 or 30 years ago, it was just part of the course, something we did. So it's really, really important you get this information. It's really important that you help me. All you got to do is press the like button, subscribe, and flick this video onto one other person. Because all this channel is all about is helping other people to be the best humans that they can be. And you can play an active role in this by flicking the video onto one more person. So let's talk about the first big mistake that people make. And that's not fueling their body properly. Your body and your mind is a bit like a machine, not quite, there's a soul there too, but essentially you're going to put things into it and that's going to determine how well your body runs. So key of course is food. Don't change your diet on the morning of exams. It's amazing how many people do that. It's amazing how many well-meaning mothers and some teachers, there was a school where I taught at that did this, that cook a breakfast when the kid normally has cereal for breakfast. The kid puts different fuel into their body and wonders why their brain doesn't work the same as it normally works. So that's a big mistake to avoid. So don't radically change your diet in that exam week leading up to the exams and on the day of the exam. And the same goes with liquids. People often forget about that. Those energy drinks are atrocious. If you haven't already weaned yourself off them, get off them. They really inhibit your ability to think. And this is one of the key consequences of caffeine, which gets me to another point, coffee. Caffeine stops the creative process in your brain. It's been proven scientifically. There's no debate about it. I've proven it myself in experiments I've done over the years. It definitely inhibits your creative thinking, and in exam conditions, that's mostly what you want. Creative problem solving thinking. So don't go suddenly guzzling more coffee than what you normally do. You're probably better off not having any. Now, if you are in the habit of having one every morning, have one every morning. Don't increase your caffeine and expect your brain to work the same. Don't skip exercise. Leading up to exams, it's really, really important you do exercise. You should be doing it every morning anyway, going for a walk or doing something outside in nature. Getting the sun on you, getting your dose of vitamin D, seeing nature. We were created to participate in nature, to be part of nature, not to lock ourselves in dark rooms. And when we excise ourselves from nature, we find that we can't be the best humans that we can be because humans were created to be part of nature. So if you're in the habit of walking to school or to university or to doing a certain walk, don't suddenly change that. That's actually a really good thing. And perhaps if you're not in the habit of doing those things, start getting into the habit. So the next big mistake that people make is failing to prepare with redundancy in mind. I've seen this one so many times. I've seen people literally in tears, including boys, because they've done some of these sorts of things. So not planning your travel to your exam with a great big buffer of time. Don't catch the late bus. Don't drive such that you turn up to the exam room with 2 minutes to spare. Because what happens if there's a traffic jam or the bus is running late or there's some other complication? What happens is you end up getting stressed, worked up, running to the exam room and being under a lot of stress. And that is not the condition that you want your body into when you're trying to do your best thinking, as I will talk about more in the next slide. So don't leave things to chance. Give yourself plenty of time. It won't hurt. The next thing is make sure you have the materials you need. It's surprising how many people turn up to exams with one pen, the pen stops working, and then suddenly they don't have a pen to write with. You should have a pencil case with several pens and buy the best pen you can afford, or the best pens, plural, that you can afford. Several pencils, several erasers, a ruler, all the things you know you're going to need. And make sure that they're all new or close to new so you're not going to have any failures. But if you've got a second of everything, if you do have a failure, it's not the end of the world. You're not getting stressed, you're not putting it up your hand and wasting time waiting and hoping that a teacher or a lecturer has a spare pen to give you. And another classic, I've seen this 3 times as a university and as a school teacher, is people turning up to exams with the calculator they bought 5 years ago, having never changed batteries. And guess what? The calculator stops working in the middle of the exams. Now, if you're one of these people that haven't changed your batteries, unscrew the case, buy a decent brand of battery and replace it before the exam. Test it, make sure it's working. Now, I used to do that every exams. I just didn't put it to chance. Why, for the sake of $3 or $4, run the risk of your calculator malfunctioning? So change the batteries. It's not that hard. The biggest mistake people make is failing to combat stress. Now, you've all heard of the fight or flight response of animals. Basically, when you've got some stress, the blood, the oxygen, energy goes to your muscles, particularly your legs, because you're supposed to run away from the threat, whether it was a dinosaur or whatever it might have been. Now, guess what? In an exam, that's not where you want the energy, your blood, and your oxygen. You want it in your brain, not in your legs. So don't get stressed. The minute you get stressed, your brain flies out the window. It's basically all over. Now, that can happen sometimes when you see an unexpected question or a hard question. And what I told my young fella today on the way to school for his maths exam is exactly right. If you prepared well and you're of average or better intelligence, any question in that exam is doable. If you see a hard question, pause, remind yourself that you can do it, calm down, and just get on and do it. It is doable. Getting stressed is not going to help you one little bit unless you're running away from a dinosaur, and you're not doing that in the exam room. Now, I myself had a routine of praying before exams. Pray in the morning of the exam, and I would never study or revise the morning of the exam. It's too late by then. If you haven't learned it the night before or several weeks earlier, it's far too late. All you do with that last minute cramming is confuse yourself and stress yourself. So don't do that. Instead, meditate or pray. And don't expect miracles. They happen, but don't expect them. If you haven't done the preparation, if you haven't done the work, don't expect great results. You've got no right to expect great results. Now, you don't have to be a genius to do well in exams. I'm not. I never have been. I've worked hard. I was average or a little bit above average intelligence, but I'm no genius, and anyone that knows me will tell you that. But I prepared hard and I followed these rules and I really focused on strategy, and I still do to this day in my academic writing, my book writing, paper writing, whatever. Prayer is powerful. Meditation is something I've developed over the last couple of years, and I'm really, really into it. Even went to Japan and studied it. It's very, very powerful, and in some respects, it's a form of prayer. And ritual is incredibly powerful. Ritual gives us a sense of security, a sense of this is an ordinary expected thing to be doing. Why would you get stressed about it? It's really, really important. Rituals have always been prominent throughout the history of mankind. It's a very big thing in Confucius's Intellects, for instance. It's a very big thing in the dialogues of Plato. It has always, until last 10 years or so, been a big part of people's lives. Now, I had a ritual for my exams. I prepared in a certain way. I always used to turn up early. I used to do laps of the building while I was waiting nice and slow in a methodical, contemplative mood. I would never talk about the exam or do last minute cramming. I'd distance myself from people who were doing those things. And when I got into the exam room, I would always unzip my pencil case, the same pencil case, and set up my papers, pencils and pens and ruler and eraser in the same way. I would then close my eyes and take deep breaths until I heard that the exam papers were going to be handed out. I would then say a last prayer and then I would start. Rituals are important. What is your ritual? If you don't have one, you're probably not going to be performing as well as you should. Look, I hope you found that video helpful. That's what I mean to do, to help people. You can help me to help others by spreading the word and subscribing and liking and all those things. Thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.